Hello, welcome to the THC Show. I'm your host Neil Magnuson, and this is where we find out some truths and hopefully find some ways to have some hope and change some things. That's what we kind of do here. On the show today, we're going to have 8 out of 10 Glenn, Canamatch.ca, join us as always. We'll do a visit out to the Healing Wave CSP RV and see what's going on out there. And mostly I think we're going to talk about 420 today. 420 is coming up. It seems like it's still a ways away, but not really. Time goes very quickly and stuff is already being organized. The Canadian government fleeced Canadians last year out of $1.6 billion just by collecting taxes on the sale of legal, very expensive cannabis. Total cannabis sales in Canada were about $4 billion. Now that's about half of what they estimated the BC market for cannabis was prior to legalization. But all of that eliminates the people that are poor and can't afford it. It eliminates people that built this industry from the beginning and now don't have a part in it. In fact, now we're still suffering like they always did as illegal enterprises, worried about the risk of their loss of property and all the rest of that. That's what legalization has brought for those people. So legalization in Canada is a farce. It's certainly not what we were advocating for at all. Those of us that have spent many, many years, in some cases decades, advocating for proper policy with respect to this plant. Legalization that we have in Canada is a hostile takeover of the cannabis industry that maintains artificially high prices and puts the money into the pockets of greedy corporatists. In fact, many of the people that were involved in prohibition are cashing in now on the legal cannabis industry. And like I say, all of it is leaving out all the people that really need it the most, the daily users, the medical users, keeping the price of cannabis up there in the range of thousands of dollars per pound for a plant. And so we need to protest this. We need to not settle for what they've provided here. Super high fees, only available to the rich, leaving out so many of the people that want to get involved, always wanted to get involved, and now increased penalties, increased money for enforcement, and they're running this protection racket just as tight as they can, with the CSU in British Columbia running around and levying huge fines against people and threatening anybody that would dare sell outside the cartel to medical patients who just need to get it at reasonable access, with reasonable access. We need to protest. We've just gone through 3 years of pandemic. One of the things the pandemic did was it shut those protests down that were going on all around the world, including our 420 protest here in Vancouver. The 420 protest here in Vancouver had become a major mainstream event. Cypress Hill filled the park with over 100,000 people at the beach in 2019. Where would we be in 2020? What would the 420 event have been like in 2020 after what we did in 2019 with Cypress Hill? It would have been probably world-changing, as all of our 420 events have been for a long time. We get media from around the world paying attention to what we're doing here in Vancouver. We have built it into an amazing platform, and that was always the point. The point of 420 was to get together with like-minded cannabis people to celebrate the day and to voice our concerns to government. Here in Vancouver, we had a really good group of activists putting these things on, working hard to build it into something that the media would pay attention to. As activists back 10, 15 years ago, it was frustrating. Mainstream media wouldn't interview you at all, and if they did, they'd put a negative spin on it, and all the reports pretty much were bad, and when the good things were coming out, it'd be run right alongside something that wasn't. It was really hard to get the words that we wanted put into print or put on video to try to educate the world about what was so wrong about a government of public servants trying to facilitate the needs of free citizens and spending an enormous amount of money to prevent those free citizens from having access to to one of the most valuable plants in nature for almost all of their medical conditions, including just their basic well-being and state of mind, and the industrial uses of cannabis, which are a multitude as well. It was absolutely crazy, upside down, inside out, backwards. How did we get there? And we spent a lot of time as activists figuring all that out and trying to educate the public about all that as well. Cannabis became illegal because it was a way of putting down minorities, and it was a way of protecting other interests where they could patent their products and didn't want to compete with a plant that could grow freely and provide many of the things that people wanted in the form of food and fiber and fuel and medicine. So the history of why cannabis became prohibited is fairly well known now because of activists that made that happen, where we educated people. And part of the educating of those people was at these rallies that we would put on. The protest rallies, Cannabis Day, Global Marijuana March, and especially here in Vancouver, 420, became the ways that we could get our message out, the way that we could teach people, the way that we could bring everybody kind of up to speed on what happened, why it was going on, how wrong it was, and how much we were demanding that it change. 420 is a very important platform that I feel very personally attached to here in Vancouver. We had 2 years of pandemic where there was almost nothing going on for 420. I did help put on a small little gathering at Sunset Beach just to sort of keep it going, where we kept social distance from each other and, were as responsible as we could during a pandemic, but there was only just, less than 100 people there both of those years. Last year, free to put on events again, 420 came back, and we had a pretty good one at the art gallery. Packed the place, way too big for the place still, and so we were all looking forward to this year. Well, it's been a very strange year for 420. There's a history in Vancouver of competing groups where there's been some real ugliness go on, and that became a factor this year as that person or group again decided that they were going to do their 420 and they were going to do it at Sunset Beach. And then another one of our activist family decided that they were going to do 420 at the beach and do it better and do it huge and be amazing and have a whole bunch of top name acts and all kinds of wonderful things go on and have just a great big huge 420 at the beach. Well, the city didn't like that. I'm not sure. I wasn't there for any of these negotiations because for me, well, I just wanted to have my own little 420 at Thornton Park. Get a little stage, people could come and set up some tents and whatever and have a fairly small thing go on, because there was these other 2 events that looked like they were going to be pretty big, and they had a real big head start, and they had quite a budget to advertise, and they had, other things going on. So that's what I was going to do. But it didn't work out with the main group that was going to really have a big show at the beach there. And it turned out that the people that had been involved with doing that and representing the big name acts came and had a meeting with me. They sought me out and said that I was the one that they wanted to talk to, and that could they take part in the event that I was going to do at Thornton Park, and would that be viable, and could we put on a fairly big production there? So they said the right things. I wish that all of my friends within the cannabis community could have been there for that meeting to understand why this has started out and evolved the way that it has. But honestly, I'm telling you that it was a meeting where these guys said the right things about what they wanted to do. We subsequently, a few days later, had a meeting at Thornton Park. And again, they reiterated that they were fans of 420 in Vancouver, that they were there during the years when it was big and happening, and art gallery and the beach, and that they wanted to bring back 420 as this wonderful event that we put on, this amazing platform that we've constructed here to be able to be recognized and heard, and that they wanted to do it right. And more than that, what they wanted to make it all about was inclusiveness and unity and bringing back our community, which has been so fractured by this fake legalization And I went into some of those reasons on the show just last week, and I've done it before, about how legalization has fractured our community, how the average cannabis consumer thinks that it's legal, can walk into a store and buy it, doesn't have to worry about the police searching them and putting them under arrest for having it, especially in small communities where there was limited access to begin with and the price of cannabis was high as a result. For them to be able to walk into a store and just purchase some cannabis and walk out, for them, it's over. And so a lot of people that are cannabis consumers even, and certainly many people outside of the cannabis community, cannabis consuming community, felt like we had won and we had legalization and there's no reason to protest anymore, and so not going to get very excited about a 420 protest. The fracturing of our community happened on the consumer side, but it also happened on the production side. All the people, pretty much, that have been producing cannabis, doing all the heavy lifting for the rest of us, making sure that even though the fines were high and prohibition was raging, and that's mostly what the cops were looking for, that they went ahead and still continued to grow cannabis for us and supply us in all of these ways. And many of them formed underground companies and nice graphics and packaging and trying to be as good and responsible a business as they could in a climate where they're illegal and not supposed to do that. So almost all of those people just wanted to be legal, just wanted to be a business like anybody else, not have to worry about the police coming and taking their possessions and children and the rest of it. So when this legalization was offered up, you can imagine that, most people thought, great, I can be part of this, and they tried to do that. Well, of course, if you're an edibles company, it doesn't work very well because, any of your high-dose edibles aren't going to be part of the marketplace anyway, according to the government's fake legalization. But if you're just selling flowers and stuff like that, if you're growing flowers, well, maybe you can be legal. Maybe your family doesn't have to hide in the shadows anymore. And so it was attractive to a lot of people. And many of them tried to get these licenses. It's expensive, it's difficult, it's a con game. And most of them didn't make it. Some of them did. So now we've got some of our old-time legacy producers that are on the legal side of things. And others that are still criminals being chased down with money being made through the taxation of the cannabis being sold by the legal side. Our community is fractured. And we're not united properly. And I was very excited. I was pleased, happy, and excited that we were going to be able to perhaps put on this amazing event in Thornton Park, this beautiful park that we've used for many a protest in the past, but only on small scales for the most part. One Cannabis Day was pretty big there. And I thought unity in the park was an awesome thing, and we could bring it all together. And I would do my best to do basically two things. To make sure that, first and foremost, this is a protest. And so I insisted and I negotiated, and it was freely given to me by those people who are now organizing. Cannabis Culture isn't organizing this event now. And these people had the infrastructure going on. They were geared up to do what they were going to do at the beach. And so I'm not in a position where I want all the responsibility of organizing this big event, with respect to collecting booth money and a lot of that other stuff. But they did put me in a position where I could have the final say on what got done and what didn't get done. And I wanted to make sure that first and foremost, this is a protest. So just like every other 420, we kept 20 minutes out of every hour for speakers to passionately educate the crowd and motivate the crowd. And that's our whole idea, is have a great day of entertainment where a lot of people are going to come. And then we can have those of us that speak passionately about these issues explain ourselves to the people that are there. And that's what we're trying to achieve as activists. That's why we have the entertainment. That's why we put these on the way that we do. Bring people in, bring lots of people in, and then we can maybe plant a seed in those people's hearts and get them to be part of this movement to win back the rights and the freedoms of all of us and free this plant for easy, reasonable, low barrier access. So that was my first concern, was that this is a protest first and foremost. And in the tradition of Vancouver, we're going to do our best to make sure that we have people in place that will speak to these issues in ways that will hopefully sway the populace and down the road sway the decision makers. The second one is that I wanted to include as many people as I could. I wanted to make sure that people that wanted to take part got to do that if they wanted. There's many people that get very excited about 420. And so we had that going on. We marked out the park for the sale of booths because this is an expensive production. There's musical artists that are coming in that are needing to have hotels and travel covered and other things. And it's expensive. The stage is expensive. Lots of things are expensive. So booth sales are fine with me as long as it's transparent, it's not too expensive, and that if there's any money left over at the end, it goes to bona fide mainstream charities. And that's the deal we've got going on here. At the same time, there's a bunch of people. The 420 is an event that didn't start out paying for anything. You go there, you smoke weed, you kick a hacky sack, you listen to some people on a megaphone, and and hopefully there's some weed to smoke at 420. But as it got bigger and more involved, and we needed stages, and we needed this, and we needed porta potties, and all these things happened where we needed some money. So there became structures of where we would charge for booths. Also, there was people there that knew it was expensive, that knew that cannabis culture and the crew that were working there, myself included, were putting a lot of our time and energy into this. And they wanted to make the event happen, and they wanted to make sure that we had what we needed to get the things that we needed. So we sold booths, and it was a good deal for some people to have a booth saved for them, so they didn't have to get up and fight for a spot in the morning, which was happening a lot because there was a lot of demand for the limited space for the people that wanted to go there and set up. So to have a space set aside and secure for you that you can just come to at 9 o'clock in the morning and set your stuff up was very attractive. And so that's part of how all this evolved. But there's always been a good chunk of area left aside for those people that don't have or don't want to contribute that way, that want to go there and do their own thing. And so we did that as well. We carved up the park so that there was enough space for enough booths to hopefully cover what we need to cover, along with some sponsors that'll help us out. And a large area for a whole other vibe, if you will. And in fact, there was talk of another sound system down in that area, just like we would have for a cannabis day. And that, everybody could have what they wanted there, and we could make it all work. It's 4:19, so we got a minute. We gotta go like that. So, in any case, we'll talk more about it. But there's been quite the evolution of how this has all come together and what's gone on here. And there's rumblings about people thinking that this is the corporate takeover of the event, and that we've sold out or something like that, and that it's no longer a protest, it's now just a music festival and they're not included. Well, I'm here to tell you that I'm doing my best to make sure that everybody's included, that all of those things are recognized and those concerns are met, and that this is the same protest that it's always been. The focus is on those 20 minutes every hour and that time period right before 4 o'clock until we blast the audience with smoke, and this year we got the world's biggest joint to do that with. It's always been for myself and those of us organizing this, that's what we're doing this for, is to have that amount of time in front of that amount of people so that we can hopefully make some big changes in how we're treated as human beings with respect to our access to cannabis. And I hope we're going to have a great 420. I believe that we are. And I hope that everybody's going to support us as best they can and make the best out of this situation and make it work, because that's what we do in the cannabis community. We make things work. And I think we all love each other, and I think we all know that I didn't sell out and Dana Larson didn't sell out. We're all just on the path we've always been on. We're people that care. We're of one heart. We're like the rest of you. We just want legalization for everybody, and that's that for that. So it is 420. Haha, speaking of 420. And of course Glenn Wells is here. Well, Mr. Wells.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good.
What are you lighting up today?
Oh, we brought something from the candy bar.
All right, candy bar.
Some purple Hennessy.
I got a hat up
You
there.
got a hat up there.
Bar.
Great lady, Misty. Yeah.
I'll wear the hat.
There you go. And you can find them at www.thecandybar.cc.
So you got a bud in there.
Yeah, I brought some. I rolled up the rest of it, but I brought you some.
Okay.
There you go. This is the purple Hennessy right here. That's really
looks pretty nice.
Yeah, you can chop that up.
Me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to do it for me.
Well, you want me to do that for you?
I don't
sure
know.
You got scissors? I don't use grinders.
You don't use grinders?
No, I'm OG.
Wow, a real OG. A real OG.
I am OG, buddy. Here.
Well, only with weed though, because you certainly do embrace the technology of the day.
Yes. Yeah, like the type. You mean like
And I'm not talking weed.
Puffco and stuff.
Well, I'm not even talking that, but I guess that's true too. So is there something in particular you don't like about grinders?
I mean scissors? Oh, grinders? Yeah, the word grind. Right? It scares the shit out of me. Why do I want to grind the crystals off my bud so that I can smoke them later? Because just by the evidence of them being at the bottom means that you're losing something. Right? And, you get all this heat to smoke later. Yeah, well, so what? Now you've made your joint a little bit less weaker, not so much medicating.
If that's your concern,
that's my concern.
Then you could take all that teeth that's happening right now.
I don't have any teeth when I use scissors.
True enough.
Right,
I'm just saying, it's all right here. You didn't lose any.
Yeah.
You didn't lose any.
You just can add it in there. Yeah.
Add it in there.
Yeah.
Tiny little bit might have got through to there.
Yeah.
But I don't think much.
Seems like a lot of work.
Well. There's not much, but there's a little bit in there.
A little bit, yeah. But I'm just saying, the word grind
why don't we smoke
scares
that?
the shit out of me.
More about the word grind scaring you. Because I was going to say, you can capture all of these beautiful resin glands.
Yeah.
And, every time you do it, you could have this going on.
The gram of keef is sitting in a jar at home. I don't even smoke it.
So you don't, in that case, you know what you could do? You could
bring it here.
You could cut up or grind up whatever you want, and then you could add some of that keef to it.
Yes.
So rather than lose some, which you're concerned about here, you could gain some.
Yeah, you gain a little bit more.
Nice little pile. I don't know if you can see that.
That's a lot off there, yeah.
Well, I've never cleaned this before.
Oh, you've never cleaned it?
I've taken this off before.
I don't know.
You're getting something special here now. Because it's been building up for quite a while. That's a nice little pile of it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't have those little piles when I use my scissors, so I guess I'm getting it all there.
I don't know.
There might be a little bit on the blade or something.
I'm not invested in scissors.
Yeah.
So I have nothing in the game. I've got so it doesn't matter to me whether you grind or cut, Not invested in grinders either.
Some people use bongs and some people use joints, right? There you go, right? So, yeah.
I mean, just for the sake of a fun debate, I could try to convince you as to why, maybe grinding is better than scissors. Maybe we can get the CBC to do that. You ever hear those debates they have on CBC?
No, maybe we
can that's hilarious. You got to hear that shit.
But also, another thing, if I've got arthritis, it's really hard to grind.
There you go. That's a good reason.
Right?
There's a good reason.
Now you have to go back to scissors eventually, right? So
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it would be hard to turn that thing sometimes.
You just skipped a step and went straight to scissors.
I always just stayed there. I didn't skip to this step.
What do they got here? Let's see.
But yeah, thank you to Miss D. There you go once again. If you... She's got lots of stuff there.
Some of these here.
She's got shatters and she's got butter. I got some
one of my favorite papers.
Spicoli. Love you. Got a couple of boxes of those too.
So I don't know if we ground all the information out of this particular topic or not.
No.
But one thing was, I don't necessarily need to plug CBC, but they do have this the debaters.
Yeah.
Sort of like the masturbators.
You think they would do that?
To grind or not to grind? Well, weed is legal, so why wouldn't they?
To grind or
I think that's great. I think that would be a good one.
The masturbators.
Yeah, the masturbators. They're funny as hell. It's hilarious. Apparently, they don't know which side of which argument they're going to be on until just moments before.
Really?
Although that's only for the first comedian. They have comedians, so it'll be whatever the topic is. And you're on this side and you're on this side, go. So for this one, he's got or she's got to be sharp, on the ball, ready to go with why this side of this topic is right. The other one gets to listen for a while.
Yeah.
Make up some stuff, come up with some lines.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very funny.
I don't listen to
So
CBC
speaking of
radio very much
Spicoli.
either, yeah. Yeah, Spicoli.
Spicoli.
Yeah.
Spicoli is this crazy character. You're familiar with Pot TV. You're familiar with Spicoli, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And what he did at the last couple rallies was he brought a leaf blower, and he had fashioned like some sort of a glass pipe on the end,
love cannon,
and called it the love cannon, and blasted people with cannabis
If
smoke.
you were at last year's 420, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
or at this year's Cannabis Day in Thornton Park, as Dana Larson was there. I think maybe Spicoli has his as well, but maybe it was just Dana's. So this is a thing. You can take a leaf blower, hook it up to a fairly large amount of cannabis that you can ignite, and away and Bob's your uncle. And he's really high. So this year at 420 at Thornton Park, we're going to have the world's biggest joint.
Yep. And
36 feet long.
61 pounds.
65
pounds.
65.
Sorry,
they added some more. You see, the world record. The world record at this point is 60 pounds.
Okay.
And so they were going to do 61 because get some. That's 61 pounds of weed. Where are you going to get that, right?
Yeah.
But they did. They got the 61 pounds, and in fact, they got a little more than that. So they said, "Why not?"
Yeah.
So they bumped it up to 65 pounds.
So do we thank Dale for that?
Oh,
Dale
absolutely,
Rook,
Dale Rook and
Empire
Calgary
Papers.
there, Empire Papers,
Because they were providing two papers, one to try practice on and one to roll with, right?
40 feet long by 4 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
Dale and his engineers have come up with the right way to mount and suspend and roll and all the rest of that. It's going to be fabulous. They're going to have a trial run coming up, I think, in a week.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. But then, speaking of Spicoli, they've got an industrial snowblower.
Yes, not a leaf blower.
So it's a
snowblower.
Few notches up from just a little leaf blower. and they've got, like I say, Dale and his engineers, because this is actually something that requires some engineering, expertise in. And there's a number of different dynamics. We've gone over it in video calls myself. I'm anxious to see the video that they produce from the trial run of this. See what kind of bugs need to be worked out of that. Hopefully there's no bugs in the weed.
No.
But if they are, they still won't hurt you.
Well, if
anyway,
it's government weed, it's irradiated.
So there wouldn't be. There isn't even terpenes in that. And, boy, could I ever, and will I ever, do a show coming up on the value of terpenes, and what happens when you irradiate them, and the medicinal value of those particular aspects of cannabinoids and cannabis that make it so medical. And which lends some doubt as to whether or not once that stuff is irradiated and those terpenes have been literally decimated, what type of medical value would still be involved in that cannabis.
We should go to a place where we can bring some weed and they can irradiate for us, and we can do it show video right there and then and zoom in on it and show what it looks like. Instead of just.
I can't wait to have a show like that.
Yeah. Where can we do that? Can any X-ray machine do that?
Well, I don't know. We've been stuck here doing the shows like this all the time because, I'll tell you a little later on, but I mean, this is where the Cannabis Substitution Program operates, and we're still an illegal entity. We're still suffering pressures from the government. We're charged for selling without a license. We're going to be before the courts as if we've committed some sort of a crime here. This is just how wrong our world is and why we need to be protesting at 420. But this show has been stuck in a rut for all this time, waiting for Health Canada to issue the proper license. I used to do the show from the studio, the Cannabis Culture, and I helped build that studio, and I loved being there, and it was so much better. But circumstance meant that I needed to be where we were here doing this. Once we got that go ahead from the city to get a storefront, and then they would license us, and then they wouldn't until Health Canada did, and then Health Canada hasn't in all of this time. And yes, in fact, we have been charged and all the rest of it. I'm really I always feel like I have to be right here. The RV's outside there, and we've had incidents. We had
we've had lots of incidents.
Yeah. So anyway, in fact, it was a Tuesday, wasn't it, when they arrested us?
Yeah, because I was here to do the filming.
Yeah. So, you know, I haven't gone on the road much. I really wanted to do a show with Don and Carol at their weeds shop.
Yeah, we can still do that.
You know, we did do Can of Love. I did leave here for that because I made a commitment to be MC of that show to help.
We just did the show from there.
And we did do the show from there. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I have done it.
Yeah.
I could do more of it, but I'm not anxious to do that because I really, I need to be here.
Yeah.
If something happens, I really feel that. I'm never comfortable when I'm away from the RV. I'm always wondering, you know, are they okay? Is my staff okay? Or are they now surrounded by police or who knows what?
We would get a call.
I would get a call.
We're not very
call
far.
I would
25
dread.
minutes, right?
Well, if you're talking about, you know, being at a post-protest rally, it's noisy there. The music was great, but I don't think I would have heard my phone.
Yeah.
Typically, I don't hear the calls that come in when I'm at a 420 or a Cannabis Day or something like that. I look at my phone every once in a while.
I have
and go,
vibrate, so it vibrates in my pocket, so that I know, right?
Why don't I think of that?
I don't know.
You know what?
You can do sound
I
and
do
vibrate.
though. I do though. I have this, but I think because typically I have it in my coat pocket.
Oh, you don't feel it.
I don't feel the vibration.
I put mine in my pocket in the back here.
In the back,
so, yeah, so I know, right? If it's in that pocket, it could fall out and you don't even know.
I lost it twice the other day.
Did you?
Well, I didn't lose it.
Yeah.
It fell out twice.
Oh, okay.
And I did lose a phone at the RV one, a year and a half
So now
ago.
that you have that phone, there's a Google thing that will allow you to find your phone if you lose it.
But do I need a phone to use the Google thing?
No, you can use it from your laptop.
Oh, okay. So I need a laptop.
Yeah, but or another phone, yes. But so there's a I think you have to look it up.
Glenn and I have switched phones for a week just to see what it's like. No, we didn't.
No, we haven't. No.
He got himself a nice phone, and
Yeah, we're here. Yeah.
And so I took this old poor decrepit thing off his hands here.
Yeah, it was like 2 months old. The whole motherboard was just replaced on January the 4th. So
Nice.
yeah.
So anyway, that's what's going on. So okay, because you know these people don't know. I mean, you make some subtle reference to knowing something about my phone that I don't know, and you're like, well, what's going on with that?
They're used to the younger people teaching the old people about the new technology.
That's what's going on here. He's teaching me about this stuff here.
I showed him how to erase an object today. I showed him how to take moonshots and stuff like that with his phone today. So
he showed me. I'm not sure that means I learned
I'm really
anything,
enjoying his purple Hennessy. It's really, really good.
I guess I should light it and see it.
Yeah. You have to say here. I definitely thank you very much.
From Miss D.
Miss D, yes.
It's kind of like Misty.
I guess I could do this. I did bring the other one, and but I just didn't want to smoke it with you because because it's called gas. And you don't want to give old people gas, you know. Old people gas. And we're trying to do the show here, you know. Like, I don't want to be like gas masked or anything like that. So we did not bring the gas to smoke. It just brought it to show. So yeah, I guess we could show this.
Now we got old man jokes going on.
Oh, I know, because you're older than I am, and I can do that, right?
Because we're both old, is what I'm saying.
So here's some of the gas. Let's show some of the gas here. I guess that's a nice butt there.
This gas.
Yeah, this is the gas.
Isn't it all about the smell with gas?
Is it? Ooh.
Oh, that is very nice.
Oh, wow, hey. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
You're not going to smoke that with me now.
You want to smoke that too?
Well,
sure.
yeah,
You got scissors?
Oh, my friend. I might not use them, but I have what you need.
Yeah, good. All right. We'll do that then.
I'm pretty good at having just about everything anybody needs at any given moment.
Except that you haven't got the size that my thumb will fit in there. But
well,
you get the bigger ones?
If that's the case, then there you go.
That's better.
I like these little things, you know?
Yeah.
These are good.
Well, you got proper fingers. I don't. Remember, I'm at 8 out of 10.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So which one's... Oh.
It's the thumb.
Ah, I see.
It's the thumb that won't fit in there. It has to be a bigger hole.
That's what... Never mind.
That's what she said.
Family show here. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
She doesn't say stuff
Talking
like that.
about masturbating out the family show, eh?
She does not say stuff like that. She wouldn't say that.
See the difference between cutting and grinding?
So anyway, what I was trying to tell you is that I'm going to say Arctic, but it's industrial snowblower hooked up to the 36-foot joint.
Yep.
Then out coming a large pipe to begin with, a plastic tube, if you will, with other smaller plastic tubes coming off of it, and those plastic tubes going up onto the stage and into the hot box tent. Mm-hmm. Now the hot box tent is going to be hot boxed during the day through other means like Spicoli and what have you, weed, leaf blower type
Spicoli's
stuff.
going to be there?
Well, I haven't asked him yet, but I'm sure he will.
Yeah, I got this phone number too. I can read
He's just down the street. He's opened up a new little cafe over there.
Oh, nice.
He just blasts people's food once he cooks it and then brings it out to them. So yeah, I mean, be it Spicoli or be it whoever, the hotbox tent will be, available during the day. It'll be well hotboxed. But when that 420 moment comes along, when we spark up that enormous world record-setting joint, the hotbox tent will get even more hotboxed, and the whole crowd's going to get hotboxed because, we're going to be up there on stage hotboxing them. So.
Okay, and can I tell them that not just anybody gets to light that 420 joint at 420? I do believe that there's going to be a raffle tickets. Yes,
there could be
some. Apparently, there's going to be a raffle where you can buy a ticket for $25, and somebody will win the right to be able to spark that joint at 420. That's what I heard from the man himself.
All right.
I don't know if that's
I'm not sure
yet.
all the details have been worked out on that.
But then the money that
rumor
raised,
has it,
the money that it raised will be split 3 ways between 3 important charities. One of them being the CSP. So that's what
I've been told. So it's a really good cause.
Yes. But if you want to be that person to be up on stage with Neil and I, lighting that joint at that 65-pound joint with Guinness World Book of Records there, bring some extra money.
I'm not sure the joint lighting will be on the stage.
Okay.
The joint lighting will be where the end where the end of the joint is.
Yeah.
Once it's rolled, but we won't be moving it from there.
Okay.
So, I'm sure we can.
Somehow we'll get it worked out.
I mean, to have that, because this is the world record, the Guinness Book of World Record people.
They're even going to be there.
They're going to be there documenting this.
Yeah, and the world title. We'll do 2 records at
so
once.
there you'll be, getting your picture taken, with a big blowtorch, lighting up, the world's biggest joint, and helping to hotbox the world.
Ooh, try that. Oh, that is nice. Oh, the gassy taste in your mouth. This just an aftertaste just explodes right out. Wow, that's nice. You see, you get the taste.
Very nice. Oh yeah.
You get the taste, eh? Wow. Way to go, whoever grew that one. Thank you, Miss D. You want something that good? Woo! Check out the.
That's very nice.
The candy bar.
That's kind of like a shatter joint without the shatter, even.
Kind of.
It's got that bite. It's got that.
It's got quite the bite.
It's got a little sting in the nose there.
That's the gassiness.
That's the gassiness.
Nice.
That's right.
Wow.
Perfect.
Whoa. I give it a 9 out of 10 for sure. 9 out of 10 from 8 out of 10. So
speaking of which,
yeah,
there's going to be a Cannabis Cup.
Yeah.
Coming up
on
the night before, April 20th there.
At the
Amsterdam Cafe. There could be celebrities there. There could be different things going on there.
It's $100 for a general pass, $420 if you want to be a judge.
I see.
Yeah.
There you go, now you know.
Yeah.
So, in fact, it's a weekend of events, I would imagine, going on 420-wise. Even though it's not a weekend at all.
No. It's a Wednesday and
but
Thursday.
But it does go on beyond the sun going down, because there's another event that's going to happen after 420 in the park at Thornton Park, and that's at Enzo's, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And we hear that Afro Man is going to be there.
I understand that is the case.
Yes, Afro Man, and he's probably going to be high.
Isn't he always high?
Well, that's the song. But I got high, or I got high.
That's what I mean. Like, doesn't matter what he does, he gets high.
Yeah. Well, I like that, man. I've listened to
some of his philosophy to live by. Because high is good.
We call it medicated. High. Medicated.
High is just
It's a slang.
It's a label used to roughly describe a person's state of being.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I'm higher than you because I'm high.
Well, the highness of a person is completely in debate. And
you call the queen and the king your highness.
Well, they're the highnesses. The highnesses. The highnesses.
So they're smoking all the time, are they?
Sorry, I don't have a lot of respect for the royalty. I guess because I wasn't born one.
Yeah.
And that's maybe my beef.
And we don't have blue blood.
I don't know if I want my. It depends on the shade of blue.
Shade of blue.
But the royalties behind all of this, in the ultimate end of things, when you get right down to the base of it, it's the crown. Now it's the king.
That's the king, yeah.
You know, but the crown is this is crown land. These are crown corporations. I'm dealing with crown's council, and it's the crown that has the final say in whatever gets done here or doesn't get done here legislatively in Canada.
Royal ascension.
Yeah, everything's got to have that royal assent, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, we'd like to stop punishing our people over here because they're smoking on a herb, because we got a whole bunch of other people here in the country that are smoking on this other shit all the time, and it's really killing them in large amounts. So it's really harder and harder for us to justify to the public, you know, why it is that we're spending all of their money on having those people arrested that are smoking that other herb over there, when really we don't have any issues with that, except people get a little hungry and happy and high.
Yeah.
But we got this other stuff that they're smoking all the time. We sell that in grocery stores and gas stations all over the place, and people are dying and in hospital because of that. So could we please have royal assent on stopping the criminalization of the herb smokers, just so we aren't in so much trouble? No, you may not. You may not stop punishing those people. We need to make money off of them, and you may not do that. We are not amused that you would even ask. You should know better than that. We make a whole lot of money on alcohol, you know.
Yeah, but they said, okay, yeah, you can, but you have to sell this government weed. Right? Not the stuff that we usually get from our neighbors or in our neighborhood or across the town or something. Thank you.
We are not amused either, Your Highness and Mr. King. The first thing you should do is free the people. Oh my God. You know, the Canadian government...
That's yours.
The Canadian government, I mentioned this off the top. The Canadian government, off the $4 billion worth of cannabis sold in Canada legally, took $1.6 billion of you poor people's money that were crazy enough to walk into a government store.
Of that $4 billion.
Of the $4 billion. $1.6 billion the government took. Just decided to take some money out of your pocket, I guess. Why not? You know, what are they using it for? What are they using all that money for? I would like to know. Is it only on just enforcement to go after all those people that can't join the cartel and won't stop growing some plants to help their friends and family? What are they doing with all that money? Federal government takes a hell of a lot of money. Mm-hmm. That corporation in Ottawa takes a hell of a lot of money.
Yep.
And I'd like to know what they do there. But you know, they took $1.6 billion in taxes on weed from people. They took $15.2 billion on taxes from alcohol.
Wow.
In the same year. Which they needed more than that of, by the way. 15 million doesn't really...
Because there's a lot of bootleggers out there.
15 billion. 15 billion doesn't really cover the costs of all the dead people and the ruined families and the lost wages and the hospitalizations from liver cancer and all the other things. And actually just, you know, there's a few hundred deaths every year in BC just from alcohol poisoning. Maybe people that were drinking regularly and then decided to quit real quick, you know, that doesn't work so well for people that are heavy drinkers, or people that just drank a little more than they should and they died. Alcohol killed 300 people plus in this province last year, without talking about the accidents caused by alcohol, the domestic abuse and violence caused by alcohol, and all these other things. $15 billion probably isn't enough to cover the damage from the government's supply of alcohol to people. And so go take more, I guess, is what I'd say to that. But people can still brew their own. Yeah. You know, so, you know, you don't have to be part of the government scheme. You can brew as much alcohol as you want.
You're going to make wine. You can't make booze.
Oh, really?
Can you?
I've never heard of anybody being arrested for making moonshine, and I know a lot of people making moonshine.
Oh, really? Eh? Oh, yeah. Well, you used to be able to be arrested for making moonshine.
We don't ever hear about it, right?
Yeah.
They don't care.
Well,
they sell enough. Yeah. I'm already too high.
Okay. Well, that's right. I like that smoking that gas.
I'm just getting angry again.
That gas is nice.
It pisses me off.
It doesn't smell like gas. It doesn't tastes pretty good though.
As in gas, you mean gasoline?
Gasoline, yes. Diesel, gasoline, yeah. You know, when you finish
because it's like neon gas.
Pumping in your hand, smells like gas, right? Gas. Yeah.
Lots of different gases out there. That's a good one though.
That's nice. I like it. Very nice.
Yeah. So, Anyway, did I cover all that?
I guess you were talking about the Queens and yeah.
They're the ones ultimately behind all of this.
And
But,
about your 420 thing there, I don't understand why people are getting so upset about bringing more people to the event. You know, we have to cater to everybody, right? The older people, the younger people, because there's a new generation coming in that's going to be buying cannabis, right? We don't want to buy government cannabis. We want to show them what real cannabis is about, right? So having a bunch of rap people there brings those kind of people in so that we know, right? So
I'm told by people that know more than me about these kind of things that the music is going to be killer.
Yeah, it's going to be killer.
It's going to be family oriented to some degree because this is a family event. So
believe it
or not, there will be.
We can say that.
I'm not saying that.
I know. Well, that's
but no,
right?
These artists are going to be respectful of the day. They're going to be bringing the spirit of cannabis and the cannabis community up on stage there with them.
Yeah. And
I think it's going to be a great day. The entertainment is always secondary to me.
Yeah.
It's great that there's good vibes going on, and I appreciate good vibes. It makes the day nice. But really, it's the farmer's market.
Yeah. That's exactly.
That's what makes this the world's most intriguing 420.
Mm-hmm.
Is that we have a huge marketplace of people openly selling all of these cannabis products and demonstrating what the marketplace should look like.
Yeah.
No problems ever.
Nope.
A beautiful scene of happy people.
Yeah, hanging around, talking, chit-chatting, sitting down, laughing. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Right, so
it's kind of like a wine tasting without the falling down.
Yeah, and without the drunken drivers driving home afterwards or something, right? So, if you smoke too much cannabis or ate too many edibles, you're not driving anywhere. You're sitting on some chair or couch or in some bed.
Yeah, always be careful not to eat too much edibles.
Go low and go slow if you're just beginning.
Start slow. Start low, go slow. See what happens?
Yeah, it's the gas.
It's the gas, man.
It's the gas, man. Yeah. Well, at the beginning of the show, we weren't too medicated. Now we're medicated, and you're feeling better. You're smiling. So, it does get rid of the stress.
It absolutely does.
It's like we were pretty stressed out before we
started.
Go to the
archives. Those of you out there that want to see something cool about the effects of cannabis, go into the archives to the contest that ran at Cannabis Culture through Pot TV back in the early 2000s, and watch some of the activists of the day, Mark Emery, Kirk Tusaw, Chris Bennett, sit there and sample cannabis that was sent in for them to try.
Yeah.
And you see the whole conversation just start to go.
So why shouldn't we bring that back? We'll do government cannabis.
Oh, I'm not smoking that shit.
Well, maybe we'll get somebody that likes to smoke it to do the testing.
I wouldn't subject anybody to that.
And then we will subject them to the real cannabis and watch how much more medicated.
The contest was a cool thing. But,
let's bring it back.
So it's about, like you say, it's the effects of cannabis.
Yeah.
You know what my motto is. You know how I end every show.
Yes. Yeah.
Just have as much fun as you can.
Yeah.
And I mean that seriously, like seriously. Have as much fun. Because life is way too serious to take too serious. It could be over in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. Whatever you think you have, you could lose in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. It is precious. It is amazing. We should live in awe all the time. And yet there's so much that is tugging us the other way.
Yeah.
There's personal drama, there's worldwide loss, there's earthquakes, there's political strife, there's wars, and from macro to the micro, there's a whole lot of things to be stressed out
about. But just because there may not be a war in Russia, there's a war in the Congo or something. There's always those little wars too, right? So there's something always going on in the world.
There's pain, there's suffering, there's loss, there's people at any moment right now just experienced a humongous car accident. Their friend is dead. I mean,
there's so much. There's an opposite to everything.
So
and somebody
the
just had a
trick
birth
to
of a
this
child.
whole world, in my opinion, and this universe that we live in, for us that are alive, life is an incredibly strange phenomena. that somehow life evolved here into all these different personalities, giving birth to new personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And, I saw one of the was it Neil deGrasse Tyson that said that throughout the history of humans over the last million or so years, there's been 100 billion humans that have been born already, each with their own unique personality.
Wow.
And yet, he said of the possible combinations that could produce humans, barely scratched the surface of how many there could be and may be.
Wow.
But the point is that life is incredible. The fact that you're here, that you are you, a very unique, amazing energy field of trillions of cells and multi-trillions of atoms is something to be, I think, constantly a little bit aware of. You know, the fragility, the preciousness, the amazing life, the fact that there is life, the fact that all of these things. So in a world full of so many potential stresses, and we don't start out laughing, we start out crying.
Yep.
We start out scared.
That's because somebody spanked their ass, so
Well,
we cry, right?
then there's the thing that comes right after. Well, you get a boob at some point, so that's
we get a boob right after.
and then the balance begins, and then the balance begins. But there are all these stresses, so for me to find the balance as best I can to maintain some sort of a positive level is to try and have as much fun as I can, even in the face of the things that are terrible. As best you can. So that's just what I wanted
And
to
my
say.
motto is always go out and do something nice for someone today. They might do something nice for someone else, and we'll all have a much better world.
Oh, that's great.
A couple of nights ago, I was at Fat Burger, and some guy was smoking this really tiny roach. I go out there. No. I go out there to make sure it's cannabis, right? And it was. I said to him, "Hey man, would you like a real joint?" He said, "Yeah." So I gave him one of my Glen joints full of shadow. I warned him. I said, "You just take it easy on this.
Have a puff or two.
Some shadow, right?" So he said, "Oh man, no, it's great." He said, "Thank you very much." He said, "All I had was that one roach, right? Now he's got a whole fucking joint for himself, right?" So yeah, I made some of these nice.
People still live like that?
You just never know who you're
That's
going
still
to. I'm just
going on for
ordering
people?
a strawberry shake, and this
I
guy
bet
is
there's
struggling
people-
with this tiny roach.
I bet you there's people right now out there that are watching that are in some sort of an environment where there's very little weed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll share with you.
The laws
You
are
would
hard.
share with you.
Well, we're so blessed here in BC, but not that doesn't mean that everybody in BC, has more than a tiny little
I
roach.
remember when I was 20, I was out
still-
buying grams and making them last a day or 2 days because there was only 3 joints, right?
for
so
sure.
we all been there, yeah.
Yeah,
We've
people
all
that are
been
in
there.
smaller communities, they run out of weed. They
They go to their friend's house maybe, and you may hope he's got something to
I guess
smoke.
that still goes on.
Yeah, it still goes on. Yeah. I know people that smoke roaches in their bongs because that's all they have, right? So
I know, eh?
yeah,
Yeah, I know for sure, 100%. I'm just living in Ivory Tower or a Green Tower here.
Green Tower.
I got this weed tower. I live in a weed tower. I crossed over. I knew it early on, right?
Yeah.
So, I've been helping out at the pot rallies for quite a while, few years, going there and helping to volunteer to make sure everything got kept clean and happened okay. And then I get offered a job by David to help him, renovate this space, and so I do all of that. And then I quit my job at the end of that weekend, long weekend renovation, because I had an epiphany and I cried, and I knew that I had to try to do something about just how wrong it was that we could live in a world where we were told that we're free, and yet I'm going to go to jail because I have too much flowers on me.
There you go. It's a flower here. Yeah.
And so I knew early on, my son and I, when we were sitting there, and so now all of a sudden we've stepped into this new realm of human beings. There's there's where we were, where you buy a bag of weed.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a name.
No.
You have only that much, and then you're running low on it. Now you got to get some more. Now you're even out, and now you're smoking your roaches or whatever. And you're making phone calls, right?
Yeah.
And somebody's going to meet you in a parking lot, and then you go down there, and they're always late.
Yeah.
And then you get another bag that similar, probably slightly different colors or whatever, but it looks like weed.
I always
like
made
weed.
sure I had a name for when I was buying.
Wow, you're younger than me.
Yeah, is that what it is?
That's what it is.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So because then I'm helping put these rallies on, and then David asks me if I would help him move, and there he is. He's got a backpack full of jars of weed with names on them.
Oh.
And that was the first time I'd ever seen that.
Really?
I mean, there was chemo, UBC chemo.
That would be one of the first ones.
Was one of the first ones. There was Sensimelia, but also in California Sensimelia, but all it was weed that didn't have seeds in it.
And skunk.
That was a little bit later.
Oh,
that was a little bit later.
Oh, the 90s. I remember the skunk in the 90s.
Definitely was UBC. Here was UBC chemo that was, it was here right just shortly after Sensimelia happened.
Yeah.
And then there was imports.
Mm-hmm.
I actually sold cannabis and was hooked up with people that were selling cannabis. So we would get the Cambodian, Jamaican, Thai stick, things like that. Some Colombian, some Mexican,
Hawaiian,
brickweed, a bunch of different stuff like that. Yeah. And then there was homegrown. Yeah. And homegrown was just leaves. Yeah. So it was just locally grown leaves. They didn't let it go to flower. I guess they didn't know. Yeah. And they pound all that up and put it into blocks, and you could buy that or in bags. Yeah. So there was all that. But here I am now, it's 2004. I have been going to the pot rallies and, been using cannabis all my life. My son is how old was Dan at that point? He would have been probably almost 20. Yeah. And so now all of a sudden, here's this guy I'm going to help move, and we're going to visit people's homes, and he's got a backpack, and he's pulling out these backpacks, and he's got these jars, and it's this, and this. Yeah. I was like blown away by that. Wow. And so what started this whole story is that it wasn't too long into deciding that I was going to quit my job and just work at what became the herb school over there, that I'd stepped into this new realm of people. Mm-hmm. That now I wasn't just going to the pot rally to 420 on the day of and volunteering my time, and then the end of the day going home and back to my world, where that was what was going on. I was now into this new realm of people. They all had lots of weed. These were the growers, and there was parties going on all the time. So when I quit my job and moved into the herb school and became part of cannabis culture's scene here, Dad and I early on into it were sitting there one day and we had to make a decision. How were we going to handle this? Were we going to try to limit ourselves and pace ourselves with respect to how much weed we were smoking, or were we just going to try to build an immunity as quick as we could?
I don't think you're going to get an immunity because of different strains.
Well, but you do get yourself so you can handle a lot more weed than you're used to, for sure.
True, yes.
And so we tried to build up our tolerance. Yes. Not immunity.
Yeah, tolerance.
But, tolerance.
Tolerance.
So keep ourselves bathed in cannabinoids all, from wake and bake till the end of the day.
I'd like to smoke with Snoop Dogg to see if I have the same tolerance as he does. That man apparently has a great tolerance.
You wouldn't want to put him down anyway. You wouldn't want, even if you were out, you would have to let him.
It'd be like Joe Frazier taking on Muhammad Ali. If I could out and smoke Snoop Dogg, I would be famous.
But you can't, I wouldn't know.
Or maybe get the three of them, Tommy Chong, Cheech, and then Snoop Dogg and see who laughs at.
I want to win shit, but I'm too nice a guy to not try and knock Snoop off. I mean,
well, if you're out in the public, people will challenge you, right?
Yeah. I'm sure he gets challenged all the time. I don't think I ever heard of him losing.
But we could also maybe try to get Tommy Chong, Cheech, and
Martha smoked him under the table once.
Did she? Okay. So. Yeah. Wow.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Oh wow! She should do her own cannabis edibles making show.
Oh yeah! Yeah. Bring on other relatively straight celebrities and have them eat some of her edibles.
Yeah.
Have it like the contest only for edibles.
Wow. Where would get the money to bring that together? Right?
And I just give these ideas away. You notice that? I just throw them out there. We could do it ourselves here, bring Martha on and get her to cook some edibles, bring in some celebrities, but you go ahead, Martha. You just do it yourself.
Just do it yourself. They got the money to back them up.
Money. So, speaking of money.
Yeah.
That's what makes the world go round, apparently. And when you really get right down to it, it is the lust for money, the insatiable greed for money that seems to be driving most of what we're experiencing here in this world, the society that we have right now. When you get down to the brass tacks of it, that's what's in control here, and that's why weed's illegal. It's simply because of its value. It's basic. It's a commodity like anything else, but it has a very, very high value. and in competition with these other things as well. And so it's greed that has driven all of this.
Yeah.
The
whole planet.
The whole planet.
It's not just cannabis. Yeah, it's not just cannabis.
But it is certainly at the root of what we protest about.
Yeah.
Is that this greed has resulted in, first, the attempt to prohibit cannabis outright for anybody to have any amount ever for 100 years in Canada. That greed and corruption has driven those policies for 100 years now. And now, because it is hard to justify to people why some people can go buy a package of cigarettes and smoke them and put themselves at great risk, and the people around them as well, of having serious health issues as a result.
Issues or something,
And they're good to go.
Yeah.
And yet people who want to consume cannabis, and more it's proven that this is going to counteract the cancerous effects of your environment. It's medicine.
Yeah.
And yet, here we are. We've got legalization, except that the medical value of cannabis isn't being recognized. The profit value of cannabis is what's being seized upon.
Yeah.
And we're little better off than we were before with respect to our freedom being respected. And for those who don't have resources and those who really need it, access to cannabis.
I just read an article that in Australia they did a test with cannabis and tobacco.
Right.
So they just had a bunch of people smoking tobacco, a bunch of people smoking cannabis, and they had a third group that was mixing their tobacco with their cannabis.
Right.
There was lung problems with the people who smoked cigarettes, none for the cannabis people.
Right.
And the people that smoked the weed with them, they didn't find too much of a difference. So maybe the health benefits were overcoming the tobacco, but.
Too much of a difference from what the group that was smoking tobacco.
Yes.
So they were also having problems.
They were having a lot of problems, but the people
and
who
we've
were
talked
smoking
about
cannabis
that.
were not.
Well, of course, and we've talked about that. For those of you out there who are mixing your tobacco with your cannabis, bad idea.
Yeah.
I know it makes the weed go farther.
Yeah.
But and I know that it satisfies that addictive craving for the nicotine in the tobacco.
And people get higher too.
You probably get higher because Cannabis Act sense it's an accelerator for other substances.
Nicotine makes your heart rate go up.
But it's not a good idea.
No.
If you plan on living a life of length and you don't want to be unhealthy.
There's cannabis.
The reason is because cannabis is an expectorant.
Yeah.
It means that you can expect to cough when you first inhale the vapors from cannabis. And you're coughing because it's an expectorant, and that's just a title given to these types of gases and things that we would consume that activate the cilia in the bronchial system.
Yeah.
And the cilia are the little hairs that move the pollution and the garbage and the dirt up out of your system.
Yeah.
And so when you're coughing up that jelly of little dots and specks, that's cleaned out your bronchial system. That's what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the cannabis as an expectorant is activating the cilia, it's opening up sensitive areas of your bronchia that otherwise even don't get usually access through just regular breathing or smoking a cigarette. Mm-hmm. So now you're opening up those sensitive areas. You're allowing the chemical carcinogens within the tobacco smoke to get into those areas and then stay there and do their thing. And away you go.
I'm thinking that they probably didn't find too much of a difference between the people who mixed the tobacco with, because it's not as much tobacco as a cigarette, right? It's just a little bit of tobacco that these people add, right? And I know that some people in Ontario do that because their weed is wet, right? The people are selling it for fresh, right? So they have to add tobacco so that they can smoke it, right? But it's not as much as a cigarette, so maybe that's why there was not much of a difference with the people who did mix it, but they're not getting as
So for
much.
you people who are dealing with cannabis that's too moist, this is the universe teaching you patience.
Yeah.
The answer is not to mix it with tobacco. The answer is just to wait a little bit. Put it by a heater.
We used to put it in a microwave.
No.
Well, when you wanted to smoke, and that's all you could get.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah.
And young people don't realize this at the time, but looking back, that was the
Yeah.
universe trying to teach me a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
You know?
Or go put it in the sun
Relax,
for a
it doesn't have to
while.
be right now. It doesn't have to be right now. You're okay.
So many things that we did, right? I put it in the oven.
Oh, I did too. I mean, I
Yeah.
did microwave and oven and frying pan. lots of things too. I did do.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
did
saying,
the
don't.
frying pan?
I'm older and wise enough. Don't do that.
You did a frying pan?
Yeah.
I never fried my
Heat it up a
weed.
little bit in a frying pan.
Really, eh?
And then sprinkle it on a pizza was a good thing.
I guess, you put
really
some
nice.
holes in a plastic bag and had a blow dryer. You could probably do it a little bit better with that, too.
Could get creative, Stoners, they can make a pipe out of anything.
Oh,
and
fuck
they can
yeah.
figure out how to dry that weed in a hurry if they have to. And even fire,
You need to get medicated.
Yeah, that's for
You
sure.
need to get medicated.
So all of this greed and corruption that's driving the policies of cannabis has put us in a situation where, like I say, that the people that need it the most and can afford it the least are the ones that are left out of all of this.
Yeah.
And so, for those who don't know, this is what we're doing here, the Cannabis Substitution Program. And that's a program started over 6 years ago where we hand out high-dose edibles to people that would line up to get them here on the downtown east side. A population of people, for the most part, living in poverty, many of them homeless and or inadequately housed, I guess is what they say. And so this was against the Canadian law to be able to do the criminal law, because it's just so corrupt in the world that they would use the criminal law to prevent free citizens from having some flowers that might help them in some way, and probably is never going to hurt anybody in any significant way. It's going to be hitting my head. And so what we started out to do was illegal and against Canadian federal criminal law. But it was absolutely the right thing to do. I had personal knowledge that high-dose edibles could help people get through the withdrawal period. And that's the most important thing in all of this, is that getting through the withdrawal period is what allows people to stop using these risky drugs that are killing people and have for the last 7 years or more at an alarming rate from wherever it was before.
Yeah.
So the greed and corruption that led to 100 years of prohibition, and now a legalization that still has all of the prohibition mechanism in place for anybody outside of the cartel and all the growers and suppliers that can't make it in, and all the rest of that. Well, we did what we had to do. People were dying. I had knowledge of how to solve some of that, to prevent some of that, and I feel as an ethical human being, I really had no choice but to do my best to try to get this happening to save these people's lives. And so first I got the unanimous approval by the main advocacy group on the downtown east side, VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, funded by government, run by peers here from the downtown east side. Unanimous approval to go forward with the program to provide cannabis high-dose edibles, make it as easy as possible for people to get those, to go to City Council and present it to them. And so I did that, had a bag with high-dose edibles in it, and I held it up and I said, this is the real safe supply that we need to be encouraging. And from there, after a couple months of lobbying and a couple of months of gathering donations, we went and started handing out these high-dose edibles. Very successful in doing that over the course of a few years. It took the City of Vancouver 2.5 years to finally pass a motion based on what we were doing and what the High Hope Society was doing. And they're going to support low barrier access, get our people that were waiting in lineups twice a week for hours to get a few edibles, to allow them to have the dignity of an actual storefront that they could visit at their leisure during a regular day. And so that was great, met with the city, let's get a storefront, we'll support you. And then we did, and this is it, was it. And then, we can't give you our support yet. You're going to have to get licensed by the first provincial, and then it turned out to be federal.
Yeah.
And then it had to be the Special Licensing and Exemptions Division of Health Canada. So we've been on this journey for a long time now. This is now, that was over 6 years ago that we initiated the program. We've been here now, it'll be 3 years in June that we opened the store. Well, we had to leave the store because the government, the municipal government, wouldn't give us a license, which meant that the mechanism of government kicks in, and the landlord gets a fine, or maybe he gets his building seized, or who knows what their next moves would have been. But we had to leave the store and not sell from the store.
Yeah.
So we got an RV, and we didn't miss a beat. We didn't miss a day. We just provided 8-hour-a-day service from the RV all week long. And we're still in the RV. Now, in the meantime, of course, we did apply to the federal government, and we put in quite an application, and we knew that there was no way that there was any political positive currency in them saying no to that application. That would be like, saying outright, we don't care about these people. We're happy that they're dying. We're going to help them die by not giving them access to this life-saving intervention. And so we knew they couldn't say no. And it's been 2 years since last September that we put that application in there, along with an application for a temporary emergency exemption to protect us from, the criminal law that we were continuing to break to save people's lives, because that's the right thing to do. But the emergency exemption didn't come.
Not yet. They're still in process, right?
Well, that one they never said another word about.
Oh, really? Eh?
They acknowledged receiving it the day of, and when I say they, I mean the Special Licensing and Exemption Division of Health Canada and the Federal Health Minister at the time, Patty Haydu. Both of those offices got our applications. And both of them acknowledged the following day that they had received those applications and that they would try to process them in a timely fashion, is what they said.
Yeah, I'm waiting 3 years for my timely fashion stuff.
I'm behind you. You're ahead of me.
Yeah.
Looks like it's going to be more than that for us, too, but we don't know.
We're going on 4 in December.
We don't know. Health Canada did send me an email. There's a new director now. It's no longer Mr. Benoit Seguen, who did a really crappy job of doing what his job is, which is to provide special licenses and exemptions where deemed appropriate. And I'm sure they would have deemed us appropriate if he'd ever sent anybody here to actually investigate what we're doing. But that would have been a conflict of his interest, because his interest is really in satisfying the big power players, obviously, who don't want low barrier access cannabis available to people, or maybe they really don't care even about having access to people whose lives will be saved if they have it, and probably lost if they don't.
Use some of that over $1 billion to fly somebody here. The taxes that they collect.
It makes no sense.
They can just send somebody down, pay for their hotel. They get over $1 billion.
Like so many other things in this world, it makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
But it's making a fuck of a lot of money for some people.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Barty.
Yes.
But that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. This is all about corruption and greed.
It's always about greed.
This is all about a government that doesn't want cannabis to be made available through anybody but itself and its licensed operators, where they can maintain an artificial prohibition against everybody else and artificially high prices on the cannabis, and continue all the harms of prohibition that we had before, while disuniting our cannabis community, as I mentioned before, and while people are dying all the time.
Yeah.
So that's all crazy, and if that's not crazy enough, what happened last May is that we were raided by the VPD, who their police station is right there, a block away. They
walked here.
Obviously, they are very aware of us. Have been. We've been here.
Out the window and see you.
We're not in some discreet RV made to look like an old couple on vacation.
No.
We're in an RV with signs on it that say Cannabis Substitution Program, low barrier access, all the rest of this. Cannabis saves lives. So we're not hiding. They know we're here. We were in that RV for a year and a half, or just over 2 years. I'm losing track now.
Oh.
Anyway.
Getting old.
Over a year and a half, we were in that RV.
Gas.
It's the gas. It's all the gas. And so, wouldn't you know it, we've been charged with selling cannabis without a license, a serious criminal offense in Canada. They're looking to put me in a jail cell for a while to teach me a lesson here.
Yeah.
And turns out they had an investigation. Project Blaze. That's so weird, eh?
I love your new nickname.
Oh,
your
man.
nickname, Blaze.
That is so weird that the RV gets torched, because that's another story I won't go into, because I'm not going to give you the whole history here. This is just an overview of the legal situation and the outrageous situation that has been going on here that keeps this show in a rut of me just every show having to bring everybody up to speed on what's going on, because we have new watchers all the time.
Yeah.
And And in case anybody ever does watch from any of those departments of influence, I want to make my case, and I do that every week, and I think that we do a good job of it every week. And so here they have this Operation Blaze for 6 months or more of sending in undercovers and putting us under surveillance to see what's going on at this RV here. Mm-hmm. They could have just come and hung out for a little bit and talked to us, I thought they interviewed the main suspect, when they have a crime that they think is going on.
Anymore.
But apparently that's just Hollywood.
That's Hollywood.
Because they don't tell the main suspect anything. All of a sudden they just surround you and they arrest you.
The main suspect would stop doing what they were doing because they let them know.
Oh yeah,
right?
Maybe would I? No, I wouldn't have.
I know, but
we should run that scenario. We should run that scenario. Mr. Magnuson, where were you on the night of last Thursday? We saw you exiting an RV. What were you doing in there? Well, thanks for asking, because I'm really proud of what we're doing here. We're providing access to people to cannabis to help them get off the other drugs.
Oh, well, we're investigating you, sir.
You understand cannabis is illegal. Yeah, and that's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah.
Causes you guys a whole lot of problem as police officers, because, you could be better off finding missing and murdered women, or, a whole bunch of things. Maybe some white-collar crime. Would be nice to have some of that get looked after. Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's a new thing right now, right?
Lots of things a police officer could be doing that would make you a hero in the neighborhood, but there you are, you have to worry about people with weed. That must really piss you off as a police officer, right? Yeah, I know how you feel. Having young people in the back of your car, now they're going to get a criminal record because what? They were out on a Friday night and decided that, they'd try some cannabis because their friends were, and now you're going to arrest them, and I know it sucks to be a police officer, doesn't it? So yeah, we'd have quite a conversation, me and these police officers, and by the time I'm done, they're in tears. Yeah. They're joining LEAP, and you go carry on and do what you were doing, Mr. Magnuson, and we really hope you're going to get your license. That's what would happen.
Tell people what LEAP is. Law enforcement. What? No.
Right now, LEAP is not what it was.
Okay.
And I don't endorse the law enforcement action partnership that has now been converted into by this wonderful group of great law enforcement activists. Most of them retired, because that's just the pressure that they're under as people within that industry, that they really have a hard time speaking out about what's wrong. But brave, good people formed a group called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and I was a proud civilian member of that group. And so they did some awesome stuff.
In the beginning?
Well, for years they did. And now, you see, what's happened here is that this wasn't an overnight idea by our Prime Minister to legalize cannabis and get reelected, or not reelected, to get elected the way that he did because of it. This was an ongoing project and strategy session, brainstorming by all of the people involved in the industry of prohibition and in protecting those interests about how they were going to be responding to a public that was getting more and more frustrated with their young people being arrested, with grandma needing some cannabis and not being able to get it, and all of these
kids have seizures,
incredible hypocrisies to do with prohibition. So they knew they had to give it up. Our rallies were getting so huge. As we mentioned, over 100,000 people at Cypress Hill in 2019. So they came up with a scheme. They're smart. They're always smart. The same people that wage wars to gain resources from other countries, that use our young people as their shields and their ammunition, that use our tax dollars to finance it all and to build the machinery of war that they profit on. And it's all about profit for the elites, these things. And they use us as ordinary people they're very, very smart. And same thing with cannabis prohibition, where they use taxpayer dollars to go ahead and hurt people real bad to make sure that you conform with what they want you to conform to. So anyway, this is the world that we're living in for a long time, and we're trying to work our way out of this. And so we can't ever just let it go. What was happening is that they knew they were going to lose, right? They knew that maybe if a new political party came along that wasn't somehow associated with or able to be bought out by these financial elite, that would come along and offer a reasonable, professional real legalization to people, that maybe they would get elected into place. And so they wanted to get ahead of all of that. They wanted to give us legalization, and all in the lead up to their fake legalization, Trudeau was saying all kinds of things that was not true about what legalization was going to be. That medical people were going to be well looked after and not have any worries in the new system. That they were going to price cannabis down where the gangs would be out of business. That who wouldn't go to a government store if it wasn't if it was the best price and the best cannabis and no problems. I mean, who wouldn't go there? Of course, you know. Well, he didn't price the underground marketplace out of existence at all. He did not provide for the medical users, which are the people that really need it. And so we've been sold a bill of goods here by these people. This is not the legalization that we were promised, but they had to do something. So when we were preaching legalize and regulate, they were going, all right, we can legalize it so people can have weed. They won't get arrested for having weed. You know, they didn't want to, but they ended up capitulating so that at a federal level, if a province allows it, you can grow up to 4 plants, but on as a federal edict, no more than that, you know, in any household in Canada. And so, you know, they can have it. Some of them, you know, damn it, okay, they can grow a few plants of their own. But for the most part, you're forced into buying government pot off the from government stores, and they're going to waste a whole bunch of our tax dollars to enforce all of that. And so
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So we were arrested, and the investigation didn't find out the real truth, and that is that my team of people that come here and dedicate their time here and spend time in this horrible neighborhood dealing with all kinds of real nasty shit that nobody should have to ever see or understand or deal with, trust me, except maybe everybody should have a real good taste of it, you know, but it shouldn't exist at all. What's going on out here is all bad government policy, and it shouldn't be going on like this at all. These poor, suffering, homeless, addicted people that have suffered traumas throughout their life and get traumatized repeatedly by a system that criminalizes them for being poor and traumatizes them over and over again as we go. This is all bad government policy, and I've got a team of people that have, for the last 6 years and 3 years here right in this block every day, exposed themselves to these types of traumas, and nobody should have to do that. We should all have a good sense and a taste of what this is like so that we can avoid it and not allow that to happen to our families and our children, our people in our society. That should be something we understand is a possibility and have a taste of it. But to be down here all the time, every day, dealing with it, having to use our wits and our compassion to help people that, you know, are almost helpless, that's not very nice of the government to force us to do this.
They're living in filth.
And so their investigation didn't show that we're all good people just trying to help in a public health emergency because we know cannabis gets people through withdrawal, and somebody needs to make sure that that's a thing. You know, that can't just not be a thing when it is a thing, and that's about the only thing that really works. Like, holy crap. So, no, they didn't investigate by interviewing, I guess, the people that were helping here to see if we're helping or hurting anybody. They didn't find any victims of any sort. They didn't ask the other bona fide, mainstream harm reduction outlets that provide needles and safe this and safe that, but not cannabis. They didn't ask any of them what they think about us and what we're doing here. Are we a good thing in the neighborhood? Because had they asked any of those people, they would have been told, oh my God, those people are like the best. Like there's no better options than what they're providing for people, and they're doing more good than anybody else. So that's not what they uncovered in this sophisticated, investigation.
Because they're only looking at the crime, and
that's
you're
right.
selling cannabis without a license.
That's right.
That's it. That's all we're going to look at.
The king says that that's a crime. We can't ask the king why it's a crime, because you can't ask the king anything. But the king says it's a crime, so you are under arrest. Shackles for him. Take him away. This is the world we're living in, where because the king continues after 100 years of prohibition, immoral, unjustified, extremely costly and damaging prohibition, after 100 years of that, he's still saying, go ahead, put that guy in shackles and take him away, even though the circumstances are what they are. You know? I mean, I don't know what circumstances that punishment and that penalty and all of that is designed to avoid. Like, what scenario it is of people involved with cannabis that would justify some sort of the long arm of the law and a hammer of criminality.
Well, I guess those people's jobs that you visit a long way while you're being processed and going to see a lawyer and a judge and the people that they need to put in the courthouses, the secretaries.
Well, I know it's funding all of that, but where's the victim, right?
Yeah,
there must be some scenario where the selling of cannabis without a license produces a victim. Somebody is harmed by that.
Yeah.
And so that's what the king is trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Is that scenario, whatever that might be. I can't even think of what it is, by the way. I mean, I'm pretty good at coming up with shit.
There's probably some not nice cannabis people out there that might do something.
That's true.
To get some of their cannabis.
That's right. You don't have any money, you're not having enough money, well, come with me, little boy.
Or something like that,
something like that. So there are harms from prohibition.
Because there's an opposite to everything, right?
Of course.
There's more good
without
in the
prohibition.
Community, though.
You probably wouldn't have a young person in that vulnerable situation.
Yeah.
But sure, that's what they're trying to avoid, is somebody trying to trade up for sex or favors of some sort, or take advantage of, or all
when
of those.
I was panhandling,
Good job,
I used to say to people, spare some change, prevent a crime. Right?
Nice.
Yeah, I go,
exactly.
why really?
If I don't have enough money,
if I don't have any money to feed myself and house myself, I don't have to do something that's illegal.
That's right.
And a lot of people would give you money because they thought that was a pretty
good idea.
Right? Yeah,
100%.
Spare some change, prevent a crime.
Exactly
right?
that. Exactly that. So you're right, and thank you. There are a number of scenarios that could be involved with the selling of cannabis. Unregulated, where there could be problems.
Yeah.
Not enough in the case of cannabis to use the criminal law.
No,
that's another story. But I'll tell you, what scenario it isn't is a group coming down to address a public health emergency with a life-saving medicine that can help people get off those dangerous drugs. That isn't what the law was designed to protect society from. That is not what you need to put somebody into a cage for. And certainly you should not intervene to stop that in any way, shape, or form. If you're not able to assist us in what we're doing and doing the right thing here, then get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
But you just want to save people's lives. Right?
That's it.
And make
I
them
can't
healthier.
stand by and let this happen, having the knowledge that I have. I can't do that. What human being could do that? I don't understand.
Once they know, yeah.
Once I know.
Once you know, yeah.
Once I know what I know.
Yeah.
Hold up that cookie. Can you give me that big plastic tub of cookies there?
All right.
Didn't we show this off last week?
We did.
I'll do it again.
All right. You want the whole tub?
Yep. That's why we got many things here.
There you go. All right, I'm going to go back to producing, so I'll see you next week. Yeah, well, it's almost 5:30, so yeah. I better go check to see what's going on there.
We're actually still on time.
That smells good.
So,
look at all that stuff.
This is the dangerous commodity that is so of concern to our public servants that they have to use the criminal law against people and restrict the availability of these to the point where all you'd be able to have is just a tiny bite out of this one. You adult out there, have been drunk as a skunk on Friday nights or whatever it is, or whatever other drugs you've done or whatever, you're only allowed to have a little bite of this, because this is probably about 80 milligrams of THC in
if you ate the whole thing.
If you ate the whole thing.
Yeah.
So
which I could do.
According to the government, an 8 would be the right number for you.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah. Like 8 out of 10, right? Yeah. But I'm a 60 to 100 milligram person. So,
right. But you'd have to chop that into 8 chunks.
Yeah, to just get 10 milligrams.
To get 10 milligrams each. And it's just ludicrous. It's just absolutely ludicrous. This is what people need.
And then the government wants you to get high on one of those 8 pieces.
So this is a way off of hard drugs for people.
Yep.
A couple of these cookies will get you through the night.
Even gluten-free.
Gluten-free.
Even down rice cakes, right?
It's a mini pizza, by the way. Is
that what it is?
Probably vegetarian pizza as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, gluten-free, and then you got one of those ones down here.
Oh, those are shortbread.
Those are shortbread. Nice.
Always a favorite.
Always a favorite.
So there you go. You can put that back, and thank you so much. And you can do what you're going to do. I'm going to just.
All right, you talk to
I'm going to
finish. See you next week.
I'm going to finish the story. You're actually out of here, no?
Huh?
You're just over there.
Yeah, I'm just over there. Yeah.
On the other side there.
No, I'm not going
to. You'll see them next week. They'll see you next week. We never get to see them anyway.
Yeah, we'll see them. Right?
I wish I could see them sometimes. Some of them.
All right, you tell the people.
They can all see you. Well, most of them, probably. Maybe they're not even looking. I don't know. Cannabis makes you silly, and silly is good, because you really should try to have as much fun as you can with all this stuff. it is really distressing in a world where there's enough troubles going on. We by now should have figured out that cannabis is not a negative to our society, it's a positive to our society, not just economically, which it would be, because it would save us a whole lot of money in a whole lot of different areas. But society-wise, as far as the demeanor of a population and how we treat each other and how we deal with stress and all of those sorts of things, cannabis is a real benefit to the relieving of stress for people. You just calm down, you chill out, peace, man. And you tend to forget a little bit about the problems you thought were serious, but really they're just in your head, and until you can actually do something about it, you shouldn't dwell on them to any large extent in your head. And cannabis gives you a way out. It allows you to get distracted in a way to have a better life. And it's just so absurd and ludicrous and outrageous that we could live in a society like this in Canada where we're under the illusion that we're free people and this is a really good democratic country here, and yet for so many people that struggle with stress in their life, to points that most of us can't relate to. I mean, we all know what a stressful day is like. We all know life is stressful to whatever degrees you're involved with. But really, do any of us have much of a clue of what it's like to live the stress that must be being experienced by the poor people that are on display here, the visibly mentally ill, the visibly addicted, the visibly precariously housed? I don't think I can imagine. I'm a bit of an empath, and I certainly get a sense of it to some degree. But we live in an incredibly stressful world. And to have it compounded by not having proper access to this amazing stress reliever is just criminal as can be. It is cruel and unusual treatment of a population of people. Those people out there that are suffering, when they're offered a joint, their eyes light right up. And within no time, they've got it lit, they're puffing on it, and they've got a different look to them. They're smiling, they're making a joke, they're feeling a little better. That's what cannabis does. It does way more than that, of course, because now they're going to get a proper night's sleep. If they're drug sick, well, maybe they're going to have a bit of an appetite. There's a bunch of other things it does that are really powerful and good for people. But mostly what it does is it changes a person's path from where they were before they were offered that joint to where they are once they have it in their hand and puffing on it. It changes their path in a dramatic way. They come, in many cases, slouching in, down, looking sad, troubled, obviously. And next thing you know, they've got a joint in their mouth, and like I said, their demeanor changes. They're on a different path. They walk away engaging positively with the people around them. This is what we see here at the CSP on the downtown east side on a daily basis, all day long. And then they come and thank us. Come back the next day and say, I got a first good night's sleep I've had in a long time. Or I could finally, sit still without squirming because of my sciatica. And all the other stories that we get told here by people who are suffering. It doesn't matter how they got here. It doesn't matter what drove them to be here. You can decide if you want that they're all just here because they must have made bad choices and that they're just like you and they had the same choices and opportunities as you and they could have chosen this instead of that. But that's not the truth. None of us have any idea what traumas people go through. From little tiny human beings as they grow up, the environments that they're in, the bullies that they deal with, the traumas that happen to some people that none of us, most of us, ever get to really know, thank goodness. Stories that will curl your hair. Story in the back of your neck. Stories that will make you cry. We get them here all the time. My point is, what kind of a world are we living in where what is considered one of the best countries on the planet of free people with democratic governments and compassion and tolerance. What kind of a country are we living in when our governments are preoccupied to a large degree on making sure that people don't get proper access to cannabis, especially the ones that need it? For them to deny a low barrier access to a simple natural plant that can be grown easily and anywhere and provided easily, cheaply, for them to think that because we're trying to do that here, we should be put into jail and we should be punished by criminal law, and the Crown's attorneys are going to paint me as some sort of bad guy here. We're living in a country like that. There's something really, really wrong, folks. And we need to do whatever we can to solve this. And I think that that this year, coming up, our big event on April 20th is one of the big opportunities that we have to work together, to love each other, to recognize that we're all wanting similar things when it comes to the freeing of us and this plant. And assume the best and make the best out of what there is, and that we can get our community back on track, because we can't settle for what they've decided to offer us and stop fighting for the most vulnerable people amongst us that were always the ones that we were trying to protect first. We need to continue the fight for those that can't stand up for themselves. That's our real duty. Just like I know cannabis high-dose edibles gets people through withdrawal, and during a public health emergency of overdose deaths, I feel I have a real responsibility to try as best I can to make sure that that happens and that that becomes a widespread thing. Well, just like that, I think that because we all understand the value of this plant and at least we have some sense of the immense damage and costs that's being created by public policy against it, that we can't settle for what they're offering us. We need to continue to try to make sure that there is low barrier access to cannabis, that it's, covered by Medicare if you want, or free for those that want it, that it's able to be purchased in ways that farmers can bring it to market that are very inexpensive. And of course you can have high-end connoisseur cannabis at whatever cost you want as well. It's nobody's business. Well, it's somebody's business, but it's none of our businesses. Go ahead. Have great cannabis grown by connoisseurs under all the best conditions and everything, and charge through the nose for it, not a problem. But don't eliminate the access to the cannabis that would be brought to market by all kinds of farmers that would grow it under conditions that weren't expensive and provide it in ways that might not be as nice as the connoisseur cannabis, but still valuable terpenes, valuable cannabinoids, valuable medicine for people to be able to access easily. And by medicine, I just mean something that makes you feel good. And so for all the people that I'm speaking on behalf of out here that can't speak for themselves, that can't get themselves a platform, can't get people to watch what they're saying, somebody needs to say something for them. We all need to say something for them. And so that's the fight. That's what we're doing. And I'm just begging you to get on board, because the future doesn't look so bright if we don't achieve proper legalization of low barrier access, where not only are the people that are poor, daily users and medical users included, but that they are raised above, and that our governments make sure that those people in particular are able to access easily, freely, cheaply, properly good quality cannabinoids to help them in their life. Why the hell wouldn't we do that? Isn't that what governments should be all about? Is not protecting the people at the top end that have the money that can buy whatever cannabis they want and whenever they want, but those people that can't do that. So Anyway, we're awaiting a court appearance now in October on the 3rd to have a little run through to see what the judge thinks of whether or not they should go ahead and continue to try to put me in a cage for a while. We'll see how that goes in October. In the meantime, we'll continue to do what we're doing with the CSP, which is provide low barrier access, and continue to update you from week to week as to how that goes. If it continues to go or whatever, you never know. We are a little bit perilous, sitting on the edge of a cliff here. We have no security whatsoever. They've arrested me once and seized the RV and took it away and all the rest of it once, and I guess there's no reason why they couldn't just do that again if they want and have another charge there if they want to really boister what they're going to bring before the courts. Is that, look at this, he continues to do what it is that we arrested him for. But I don't know. We just have to play it day by day and see. And in your case, it's week by week as far as getting the updates on what's going on. And so for today, we're here where we are. We're going to go check out the weather. We're going to check out the RV and bring another week to an end. Your weekly Vancouver downtown east side weather report is basically a sunny day. It's warmed up a little bit. It's not too cold. We had quite a bit of snow last night and into, I guess, this afternoon till noon, I guess, in the valley.
Yeah, it was snowing, yeah.
Yeah, but most of it's gone away now. That's what Vancouver's like in February when it snows. Is it comes and it goes. Sometimes we get quite a bit of it, and then almost all of it gone, even in like a 24-hour period.
Hopefully it's all gone now. No more snow. Spring is there.
I think they say we still got a couple more days of snow and rain.
Okay.
But that just means that if it snows, it'll rain, and then it's all gone. And the roads are pretty good. Although today it snowed quite a bit from about 4 a.m. until about noon, I guess.
Yeah.
And some places had problems. North Van had problems. But other than that, not a bad Vancouver day. I think we can go now.
All right.
What's going on in here?
Hey, it's that guy!
Oh, my
It's that
goodness.
guy. Oh, it's that guy in there too.
No tobacco smoking.
Yeah.
No cigarette. No. They're trying. Some people need 3 signs apparently, so they don't come up to the window.
They're trying to say something here.
No tobacco. What are you saying, Ted?
It's hard to deal with someone smoking when they're blowing a great ad.
Yeah.
And so I can only see why that is. It was really good, I agree 100%.
Well, not only that, because we do keep it fairly warm in there,
Yeah.
and it's very cold out here. So when you have an open window like that, there's a real
Right in there.
air transfer. So if somebody's standing here with a cigarette, it goes right in there. Not a good thing, And there again, we talked about the example. We live in a world where that stuff's available easy, and yet people have valid concerns about their health with respect to it. And yet cannabis, which helps people with their life and helps them with all sorts of different areas that could be considered medical, is prohibited by criminal law. So let's go this way.
We good? Let's go. Oh,
Well,
signs. Signs.
I'm always proud of my signs.
Damn right.
It's a busy road here, especially at rush hour. So a lot of cars have to come here. Like this guy's got to stop now, and I watch them as they come. When they're sitting there, they really have a look. They kind of like that. So I'm happy that we at least get to put this message out here in a bit of almost like a billboard. It should be bigger. For the ones going by fast, they don't get to see much of it. But the ones coming through here on rush hour are usually the same people, day after day. So eventually they're the ones that get to stop because of the red light just in time to be able to read the signs. And I'm sure they've all wanted to know what it says. So we're doing as good as we can just to let the city of Vancouver know that there's a cannabis substitution program, that we're trying to save lives with cannabis, and that cannabis high-dose edibles can save people's lives. RV version number 3, by the way. Dark in here, guys. Where's all the
Oh,
light?
it's nice and warm in here. I got a light on you.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. I got a light on you.
We were gonna get that.
I like this van way better than the other
Oh,
vans.
it's much warmer in here.
Stand right up in it. It's so good, but it's so bad. You know, it's good because it's better than the other RVs, and we do manage to make it a comfy little space here, and we have a lot of fun because that's the main important thing in life, is to have as much fun as you can. But it's bad because, what the hell? I mean, why is it that you know, we can't have the cannabis that we have in jars on shelves
like your
in
friend David
in a
did.
store, and all the other products that you know, people need that we have here, but we can't display them, and the people that come here have to, you know, stand outside and put their head, you know, at a window. What the hell is going on here? Why are these people being forced into feeling like nobody cares, that they're third-rate citizens, that they just can't have a store to go into? It really makes no sense, like I say, until you follow the money and realize just how much dollars it's making for a bunch of people. At the prices in the government stores, it's thousands of dollars per pound for you know, and concentrates, you know, even more thousands of dollars, you know, for what they're getting out of a pound of weed, and it's all just for no good reason. Like, it doesn't need to be like that. It's just that they think they can do it, and that's why a whole bunch of people invested, and that's why you've got great big companies that have become these mega companies that are providing cannabis and growing huge greenhouses of it, and all of the rest of this is going on because they think that this is the best crop to grow, because no farmer's getting anything close to any other crop that they're growing. So those that are lucky enough or rich enough to be able to get those licenses and to be able to grow legally like that, oh my God, look at all the money that you can make, man. You can make so much money, and that's the green rush that's going on. That's why people are investing in these companies. There's at Astra is a legal company that has now, you know, been doing very well apparently, you know, and they've got the ear of government, and in fact they've managed to have their license to deal out of the controlled drugs and substances, cocaine and psilocybin.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I'm not sure what I think about that, but in a world of corruption and hypocrisy, well, there's another great example of what's going on. That's only in British Columbia, by the way. This is all a big 3-year pilot program to see what it's like if you allow people to have access to cocaine, powdered cocaine, crack cocaine, crystal meth, heroin, and fentanyl. You can have up to 2.5 grams of those powders, and for anybody who understands those kind of weights, that's a hell of a lot of that stuff that now people are allowed to have. And apparently, you know, we've got a cannabis company that's going to be allowed to start with cocaine and go from there and provide it for people. So I think our governments are, well, anyway. We'll go into all of that in another show. Anybody in here feel like they need to say something to the camera? Is somebody anxious to have a moment on the
How are we doing today,
I'm
guys?
not dying to be on the camera, but you know, one thing is that they get apparently paid $45 an hour to have meetings about the homeless problem, and they don't want to give that up.
No.
Just thinking about what you're thinking.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
Yeah.
That there's all these groups that are making money off the situation down here, and they don't want it to end. And the governments have also figured out how to get political currency out of it, and how to also make money out of it for their friends. And so they don't want it to end either. There doesn't seem to be a real push to end anything here. There's maintenance programs, there's free needles, there's, you know, we've got these naloxone kits so that when you do overdose, well, if there's enough people out there with a naloxone kit, we can probably bring you back to life so you can keep doing some more drugs. The amount of money that must be being funneled out of this neighborhood and throughout Canada, because it's a problem Canada-wide. I mean, it's not just this neighborhood. This is just where it's visible. But the amount of money that must be being generated by all of the sale of all of these hard drugs. In the morning when I'm driving through the lane there or up and down the street, just about everybody that are these visible people using these drugs are engaged at that moment in using their drugs. They are hunched over with a flame going under tinfoil, and for somehow they're hitting that tinfoil, you know, all day long, every day. Somewhere they're getting the money to pay for that stuff. That money's all coming out of here, going into the pockets of some very rich people. And this situation is not about to be solved if they can have their way, because it's an ongoing moneymaker. Now 7 years of figuring out new ways to charge taxpayers money to provide cheap needles or cheap this or cheap that, and all these companies that are providing all these things to keep people on the drugs, but to try to make it a little safer for them while they do it, are just taking tax dollars to do something that they don't want to stop. So this is what's going on. That's why they won't license us, because we can make a real difference here. And if we had the ability to have storefronts and to have outreach and to do more than what we're doing, because we weren't restricted by these pressures by government to only be right now, you know, keeping a semi-low profile in an RV where they don't quite know what to do with us. But I'm pretty sure if we start branching out and putting other, you know, buildings up and do it, then we're going to be interfered with even more. So I'm just kind of treading water here, happy we're doing at least what we're doing until we get our licenses, and then we can do this properly. But if we can do this properly, if there was easy access to cannabis, high-dose edibles throughout these neighborhoods, throughout Canada, it was easy to get. And if people were educated properly about how cannabis high-dose edibles can get them through the withdrawal, then we can put a real dent in this public health emergency. We're trying, but
Going on, my friend?
Save a lot of people's lives.
yeah, it's very frustrating that we know that there's people that we're not able to help, that are falling through the cracks, that are just a couple blocks away, and we can't get to them, and they can't get to us. So, you know, governments should be helping us get this done. They should be funding us to be able to expand, to be able to save more people, and shame on them for not doing it. I just hope that eventually we can win out, and they'll do the right thing, be it because they're compelled by the courts, or because, you know, maybe they have a stroke of compassion and empathy, or who knows. I don't know, but I really hope that it can get done. I think that if enough people work on it, if enough people, you know, put their piece into the game, write your letter, make a phone call, do the things that can be done, make a protest sign, go to 420 wherever you are, have your own 420 wherever you are. 420 is a protest. 420 is trying to make a difference. It's trying to educate somebody else who doesn't know, and especially those people who should know and can make a difference. So let's use this 420 coming up to you know, put out a mass protest of as many people as possible wherever you are, putting up signs, doing something, going to a mayor's office, whatever you can do. And if enough people do stuff like that, then, you know, maybe we can make the difference that needs to be made. That's my hope. That's what I hope for, to get the change that we need. And that's the truth that I'm telling you from my heart. And I hope that it's catching on in yours. I hope that before I see you over the course of the next week, you have a very good week, that luck and good fortune reign upon you, and that you rain as much luck and good fortune as you can on all of those that you meet, and be a spark of positivity and value and wealth to everyone that you encounter. And while you're doing that, always make sure, have as much fun as you can. We'll see you next week.